I'm Adam Wasser. On the idea of what to do about ISIS. Now, I've been paying attention to what's going on in the Middle East. And many people, whether it's on the news or in the American government or European governments, they say, we need to send in more American troops to control the issue. We need to get more Arab armies into the region to fight ISIS. I feel that this is a great threat to the future. Yes, ISIS is a threat. They are an Islamic extremist that wish to control the whole entire Middle East and put everybody under Sharia law of Sunni domination. But at the same time, they are still pretty much a rebel group that controls northern Syria and northern Iraq. They are threats, for the moment, immediate threats to Syria and Iraq, and in some parts of Jordan. But the question is, if America goes into this region and destroys ISIS, what will that mean for the future? In my understanding, one, to train Arab fighters, Arab countries like Saudi Arabia and Jordan, to fight wars against ISIS will only strengthen their ability and knowledge to fight against Israel in the future. Second, if they are eliminated, ISIS, who will take over? The Syrian government, the Iraqi government, maybe the Kurds. And this is the point that I want to make. The Kurdish people, for hundreds of years now, have been persecuted by the Turks and the Arab peoples. The Kurds are not Arab, they are Sunni Muslim, but they are their own individual peoples that are mentioned even in the Bible. Saladin the Great was a Kurd. And yet, these people never had a homeland since the Middle Ages because the great powers that be have stopped them from being so because of their unity amongst one another as one people and with their own language. The Turks saying that if the Kurds are ever to have their own nation in Iraq and Syria, that they will invade the Turks and stop them from having an independent state, and maybe even removing the 15 million Kurds that live in Turkey today. There are 5 million Kurds that live in Iran, and Iran has looked at them in suspicious terms of what to do with them if a country is formed called Kurdistan in Iraq. The Iraqis clearly do not want the Kurds to be independent. Now, the Kurds, once upon a time, when the Europeans after World War I took over the Middle East, were given sort of an opportunity to become a nation, but Turkey, which was the Ottoman Empire that was destroyed, said, absolutely not, there will be no peace if you make a Kurdistan. So Britain and France and the Americans said, okay, no Kurdistan. There was an idea to make an Armenia that was larger than what Armenia is today, but the Kurds in 1915 had their own Holocaust where they killed almost every single Armenian in Turkey, only leaving a small pocket in what is Armenia today to the Armenians. So the Americans wanted to make a larger Armenia. The Turks said absolutely not, and the Turks got their way. And really today the Turks are getting their way again. Why do the Turks not want to invade Syria and Iraq? Because they're worried that if they take over these areas, what are the consequences for them with coming to the Kurdish issue? And it's a very serious issue for them because, like I said, 15 million people today in Turkey out of 80 million are Kurdish. And they're not just spread out. They control a very large block of eastern Turkey. In fact, almost the entire part, half of Turkey today is actually Kurdish. And if you look at where the Armenians lived about 100 years ago, actually 100 years ago, because we're on the 100th anniversary of the Armenian Holocaust, the Armenians were everywhere in Turkey. So there is a great fear of what would happen to eastern Turkey if the Turks invaded Iraq and Syria and dominated all the Kurds of the area. The Kurds are fighting. They need a lot of help. They would not be able to take Mosul. They would not be able to take a lot of the areas that are under ISIS right now if the Americans do not help them. So America can create a Kurdistan, but the problem is they do allow the Kurds to take over these areas, and the Kurds do make their own nation. The Arabs are going to be against it, and the Turks are going to be against it. Now, in practical sense, it's really a good idea for Kurdistan because it will contain the north of the Arabian Northern Peninsula. So it makes common sense. But in political sense, we want to satisfy the Arabs, we want to satisfy the Turks, so we try to prevent, once again, the Kurds from having their own nation. Now, the Jews have always been friends with the Kurds, and the Kurds have always been friends with the Jews, and it only makes sense that the Jewish state of Israel should support the Kurds secretly, obviously, because we don't want to isolate them even more, and by God forbid they should support a Jewish nation. But we should support them quietly by giving them arms, by giving them support, and we'll see what happens when their nation is formed. I really think we can make peace and have a unity, of true unity. You know, it's very possible that Kurdistan could be one of the greatest allies of Israel if it's created. So Israel must do this. Nonetheless, I support a Kurdish nation, and I do not support Americans going into northern Iraq, northern Syria, without this idea of creating a Kurdistan. It is pointless to go into ISIS-controlled areas without a game plan of the future. We take over these areas, we destroy them. Who takes over? Another ISIS. That's why we must allow the Kurds to take over and control this region. God bless the Kurds, and please, before you go and say that we need to send American troops or European forces or allow the Arabs to do this, what is the game plan? What are we going to achieve just to get rid of ISIS? That's a scary notion, because it could just be worse later on. And then there's Iran. That's another story. God bless you all, and have a wonderful day. Amen.